me go back to what I'm trying to talk about. So if we get to see the preview of what we have here, the preview is doing exactly what it says it should do. We are scrolling and the font is increasing, and we are able to click a button and the font is also increasing. But after going through the code, this is going through the code, and I discovered that there were repetition in each of the functions or each of the events. Each of the events have series of codes that were repeated on the events. So let me give you an example. Look at this increase button. It has a click event, right? And I can tell you that for scroll wheel up, it also have the same line of codes like this. So let's go to where we have that for the increments of scroll up. So let's look for increment of scroll up. So you can see this should be scroll up, and this should be scroll up here. So you can see the code here. This code here is the same thing as this code here. So what I'm trying to teach you guys is that you should not repeat the same code twice. Code should be written once and call it when you need to call it. So I want to show you how to do that. So to explain to you that we have similarities, to do that, you have to turn this to a function. If this is a function, line 6 to 10 is a function, you can easily call it here as well. 55 to 60 can easily be called, because it will not be one line instead of it being multiple lines like this, because this is multiple lines. You can easily make mistake here while you are typing this. You can easily make mistake because this line 55 to line 59 is the same thing as line 6 to line 10. You can check it word for word. It's the same thing, because that's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to increase when you're scrolling up. When you're clicking, you're increasing. And here too, when you're doing this, when you're doing arrow. We didn't even test the arrow down function. In fact, that means that this was done like 3 times. I didn't even look at it very well. It means you repeated the same function 3 times. So let's go ahead and check that. Let me check the arrow function. So if you click up, so I'm using my keyboard now to press up, and I'm using my keyboard to press down. So the 3 things, these are the 3 tasks I gave that you should be able to use: your keyboard, your wheel scroll, and then button. So the same function was written 3 times. This is very, very bad. Of course, you guys are just learning, but I need to mention that, and you need to see how to use it very well, how to deal with it. So how do we deal with it? First of all, you know that you are going to be performing a set of operations. Turn that operation to a function, such that when you need it, you just call the function. This function now, I'm going to call it a name. You already know how to create a function, and so let's give it a name, and that will be, we'll say, increase fonts, right? And then we'll then put all this code inside here. It's as simple as that. Now that we've done this, how do we then need to be able to use it? You guys know how to use a function. It's just by doing this. I'm putting this function like this, and then to call the function. Now, you can even do it directly. This lady is using some advanced stuff here, which I've not taught you guys, by the way, because I just find the arrow function very funny. So that's why I've not shown you guys that. But what I've explained to you guys is this. This is what you guys are used to. So this line of code, right, is the same thing as this line of code. So in my own understanding, this code is easier to understand than this one. This code here is easier to understand than this one. So this one are for advanced. You've been doing JavaScript for a long time, right? And it's a kind of a shorthand. Remember I told you guys that we're going to be doing a lot of shorthand. As you code more, you're going to be doing a lot of shorthand. So now look at this now. You just call a function to increase a font. Remember I said that this was repeated 3 times. So we need to go and look for other places that you increase the font and then slot this function inside. So let's get to look for where we increase the font. This one is decrease, so we ignore it. Then this part again, thank God that it was properly commented on. So this part again, we are going to do the same thing here. Provide this information there. which other part again? The arrow down was done. So this arrow up, so we'll look for arrow down, arrow down. Okay, arrow up is to increase rather. So we'll come here and do what? Replace this with this. So do you see those three places? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Before we go further, let's test if our code is working. If we've not broken the code, let's test if the code is working. Let's go ahead and do preview. We are just testing only the increments of the part of the code. Then I do increment, is working. Then I use scroll button, is working. Then I come to use my keyboard, is working. Now let's go back and go and continue what we started. And what do I want to do now? I want to do for decrement. I want to do decrement of font. So I just look for the one that is working. This is 18 to 22. Is an example of a code for decreasing the fonts. I just copy it, right? I use it to create a new function for this because this one is for increment, so which is working well. Then we'll go ahead and create our decrease font, and I put my code inside there. So this code now is for decreasing fonts, and then if I want to make use of it, I make use of it inside my function, which is here, decrease font. Again, this function here is the same thing as this. This is just a shorthand. This is a shorthand. So you can either replace it or use the one you know. So this is, as I've said, is what I use, and in my own opinion, it's easier to read. Okay, as you go ahead, you get to embrace this one later on. This is new. This is a new way to write it. So we've now have the two functions, increase font, decrease font. So where else did we decrease font? Here. I can then replace it to decrease font. Where else did we decrease font? Here. I can then replace it to decrease font. So look at this code now and tell me if this is not simpler. This is simpler and easy to manage. So your major function that you are supposed to do was to increase font and decrease font. These other ones are supposed to be a way for you to just use them when you need them. You need to do this, you use it. You need to do this, you use it. So let's go ahead and test our code and make sure that it's working. So if I come here and we give it a test, so of course it will work. It will work because we didn't do anything. We just recreate the function and pointed everything right to where it's supposed to be. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. Because if you guys, I'm sure if other people to do, you guys are going to repeat yourself. So you don't need to repeat yourself. Whenever you are writing a function twice, you should say, why am I writing the same thing twice? This is what they call do not repeat yourself. Once you do something once, you should turn it to a function so that you can always call it when you need it. So you can see how this one, just whenever you need to increase font, you just called it. Now, you don't need to worry about the code inside it because it's just running. And that's the beauty about, computer, how it works. It's just running. So I like the way you prevent default from the screen going up and down. This is a very smart move. I was watching out for this if you are going to use prevent default. Without prevent default, this is what's going to happen. Hope you guys are watching. Without prevent default, if you go and preview this, and you press up and down, the system will be scrolling. Do you see that? It will be scrolling without prevent default. And that's why I showed you all those things. You just seize that function, like don't scroll down the page. Just do what I ask you to do. Don't scroll down the page. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.